We are talking about a system that keeps showing trailers, but never actually starts the movie. For centuries, humanity has been told, again and again, you are going astray, through embellished, detailed, fear-driven previews. Signs of the apocalypse, the end times, the approaching reckoning. Yet, the curtain never rises. As the process drags on, the narrative swells, fear intensifies, but logic weakens. What is even stranger is this. In this divine system, the finale is always postponed to death. Justice, reward, punishment, truth, everything is deferred to after you die, not while you live. Everything that happens during life feels like a trailer, incomplete, partial, ambiguous. If you are good, you don't receive your reward. If you are bad, you don't pay the price. Everything hangs in suspension. And then we are told, the real judgment comes later. At this point, a very simple question emerges. If a system claims absolute justice, why does it remove justice from life itself? Why does it transfer everything to a future that is unverifiable, irreversible, and beyond appeal? Uris come later, wine comes later, heaven comes later, hell comes later. So the only thing placed in human hands is a promise. But a promise is not evidence. A promise is certainly not proof of a system. There is an even more fundamental contradiction. Why would an all-knowing, all-powerful, perfect God create an imperfect human, and then constantly threaten that creation? Why would such a being subject its own creation to a test, then conceal the results of that test? Imagine a teacher. The teacher writes the questions, knows the answers, determines the student's capacity, and then turns around and says, "You failed, you are guilty." That is not justice. It is a constructed authority game. Moreover, this God model constantly needs to explain itself. Prophets, books, warnings, threats, repetitions. A truly absolute truth would not need this much explanation. Gravity does not preach. Fire does not deliver speeches. What is real does not produce fear in order to prove itself. So the problem is not, why does God allow evil? The real problem is this. Why is there such a human, calculating, persuasive image of God? The answer is simple, but unsettling. This system aligns far more with human fears, expectations, and the need for control than with divinity. The reward and punishment mechanism works not to cultivate moral maturity, but to produce obedience. And in such constructs, obedience always comes before truth. In the end, we arrive here. If there is a God, it cannot be the God described in this narrative. Because this system is inconsistent, perpetually deferred, unverifiable, and excessively human-made. A structure this incomplete, this contradictory, this dependent on, we'll explain it later, resembles not an absolute being, but a mythological construction. And perhaps the most honest sentence is this. If humanity has been distracted for centuries with trailers, then what exists is not a divine finale, but a film that was never actually made.